Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz just wrapped up, and my immediate reaction to the fight is that Jorge Masvidal got brutally robbed. I gave him 6 rounds to 4 based on him landing the more damaging shots, and those shots being the right hands, the ripping shots to the body, compared to Nate Diaz's sloppy jabs that would sometimes pierce through, and his, I guess, whipping hooks on Jorge Masvidal's guard, Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather-esque. But yeah, I mean, some judges gave Nate Diaz 8 rounds to 2 and 7 rounds to 3. I'm guessing they were looking at him moving forward more compared to Jorge. But I guess they didn't take in the damage and, were on the smoke. Alright, they were on Nate Diaz's cush whilst judging this fight. The fight was also in California, and Nate Diaz was the A side, and he did have everything in his favor for this fight, even though Jorge Masvidal won the first fight. And, those reasons were being, said by Jorge Masvidal in the MMA Hour interview that, Nate Diaz would not take the fight if it weren't for, him getting everything he wanted. So, Nate Diaz played the diva card, and he won off it, in my opinion, because there's no way, when it comes to damage, that he did more than Jorge Masvidal. But I will say the fight was better than I expected. I expected these two to just be some old dudes at range, and they were slugging it out, and way better than regular boxing where they clinch up even though they're not MMA fighters whatsoever. And these dudes, these MMA fighters, Jorge even succeeded from the clinch a lot in the first fight, and still these two were slugging it out. So at least entertainment wise it was good, but I don't like robberies. There should always be, the rightful winner should always be rewarded the victory, even in close fights. So, yeah, but let's go through the rounds. Let's go through some highlights and see kind of, if anybody, thinks Diaz won or it was a draw. Look over some of these highlights, and I'll go over some of the points I wrote down too whilst watching the fight that, and you'll get a clearer thought in your mind that, Jorge Masvidal did actually win this fight. So, moving on to the fight. Round 1, I give it to Nate Diaz. Jorge Masvidal started off really fucking slow. I thought he aged to 50 fucking years, dude. He was horribly slow. He did land one looping shot, but Nate Diaz was peppering this dude, backing him up. And I gave round 1 to Nate Diaz, so it didn't start off well for him, but round 2, he started implementing his game plan. He ripped to the body a bunch, landed his right hands. His right hook was his main weapon in this fight. And, Diaz did have the spamming shots in that round 2, but Jorge Masvidal's shots were way cleaner. But, yeah, and then there was also a moment where Nate Diaz played a dirty 2, where with the California State Athletic Commission ref watching, and, he did jack shit about it. And that moment was where the ref asked Jorge Masvidal to let go of Nate Diaz, and as soon as he let go, Nate clipped him. And he threw the hook after Jorge let go. This wasn't like Jorge let go whilst Nate Diaz was throwing the hook. No, Jorge put his hand down after letting go, and then Nate Diaz clocked him. But it didn't matter anyway, some dirty Diaz shit. But I gave the round to Jorge Masvidal. And so far, I have it 1-1 going into round 3. And round 3, more of the same stuff, as I said. But, Diaz was pressing with the straights. But when it came to the end of the round, Jorge Masvidal was landing way cleaner shots. This was a bit earlier where Diaz was pressuring Jorge, with a full steamed offense, but in the end of the round, Jorge was clipping him with some nasty right hooks. So for that reason, 2-1 Jorge going into round 4. And yeah, round 4. What is it? There was a moment where I thought there might have been a headbutt in this round. And, again, the ref doesn't acknowledge it or question it whatsoever or even give a warning. Unless I didn't hear it. But I swear I saw a headbutt on Jorge from Nate. And that caused Nate Diaz to just pepper on Jorge Masvidal and shut down Jorge Masvidal's damaging shots earlier in the round, and completely took away any reasoning behind giving Jorge a round, and he put it on Jorge. I thought, there might be like an 8 count or something. Not really. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but Nate Diaz was doing a lot of good work with his straight shots in this round. And they were getting through on Jorge, and for that reason, I'll give it to Nate Diaz, and I have it 2-2 going into round 5. I guess here's some highlights of that round. That was Jorge landing some shots early, and this was, it doesn't show it fully, but Nate Diaz landed a bunch of straight shots before he smiled off into the crowd. Now, moving on to round 5. I gave this one to Jorge. I think this was one of the more slower rounds. Nate Diaz did have Jorge backed up in the corner for a solid, I'd say, 15 to 20 seconds, landing 5 jabs in some intervals. And Jorge wasn't doing much. But again, when it comes to the damage, it was, Jorge Masvidal just landing the way cleaner shots. I mean, this was a screen grab from a clean right hand that Nate Diaz took from Jorge Masvidal. So, yeah, for that reason, this is a very close round. A very close round, I will say this, because Nate Diaz, again, he had him backed up in the corner for a solid amount of time. But again, the right hand of Jorge Masvidal, and even this one, the left hand, did a lot of damage. And I think it won him the round fair and square. So round 5 to Jorge Masvidal. Now, round number 6. What did I write here? Jorge looked a bit tired at the beginning, and Diaz's jabs allowed, Jorge to counter him with some nice right hooks. Yeah, again, same shit over and over again. Nate Diaz's jabs weren't doing fuck all in this round, and Jorge hit him with some clean counters. What else do you want me to say, man? I just can't believe they gave him the fight. I can't believe they gave him... Look at that right hand. That was as clean of a right hand. Not right hand, shit. An overhand left. My bad. He landed a very clean right hook counter in this round. I'm not going crazy. It was a beautiful overhand left in this replay, but it was Jorge Masvidal's round for, I guess, now 2 moments. I forgot about that moment happening, so, my bad for my Tito Ortiz moment. Now, round 7. I gave this round to Diaz. He was taunting and eating right hands, but he was landing some of his right hands in this round, which I thought he should have thrown way more when he had Jorge Masvidal backed up in the corner, but he landed a few of them. Nice on Jorge Masvidal. This one, not right hand. Fuck, why am I being Tito Ortiz? His backhand. He switched stances a lot in this fight. I mean, he did have a bit of a different approach, but still, he was switching stances. Another excuse of me fucking up which hand. I'll just say right hand. His backhand. He landed a bunch of those clean on Jorge Masvidal. Not a bunch, a couple, but enough to win the round. So 4-3 Jorge Masvidal going into round 8. And round 8, what is it? Jorge Masvidal was landing some nice jabs and throwing more right hands, winning the round, and doing more work than Nate Diaz. The fight was slowing down at this stage as well, but, Jorge Masvidal, I mean, when Nate Diaz does that taunt shit, you should give the round to, Jorge Masvidal. And he landed, that was the right hook. That was the fucking right hook, as I see it now. That was a clean fucking right hook, that from the earlier round, which I fucking labeled it or some shit. Tito Ortiz style. But, let's look at that right hook, and let me get some reassurance as I keep going into this video and try to wrap this shit up. Look at that right hook counter. Nate Diaz's guard a little far from his face, and Jorge lands it clean. Good shit. there. Round 9, and obviously I gave the round to Jorge Masvidal there. Same with this round. More of the same shit. Give it to him. You didn't see it fully there, but that was another looping shot landed clean by Jorge. They exchange hooks. Nate Diaz lands a good one here, but apart from this, in this exchange, I will give Nate Diaz the benefit, but in the previous exchanges where it doesn't show it, Jorge Masvidal was the one doing way more work. And yeah, you give round 9 to Jorge Masvidal in that case as well. So at this rate, it's 6-3. We're going into round 10. And what is it? Nate Diaz finally picks up the pace, as he always does in the final round of his fights, where he decides that he wants to fight, and they duke it out for a bit, and I think Nate Diaz absolutely clubbed him for the majority of the 10th round, and I gave him the 10th round for that very reason. He didn't in the beginning part, and even in the, I guess, later exchanges, he, got the better of Jorge Masvidal, and he landed those shots. He landed some looping shots on Jorge Masvidal, which was kind of shocking. Didn't expect him to be landing that, but they were kind of duking it out, Holloway style, so I guess that gives way. I didn't expect Nate Diaz's sloppy hooks to be landing on Jorge at all, but, it is what it is. So then we go to the decision, and, we look at these stat numbers, and look at this funny shit. This isn't Jorge Masvidal's body because the tattoos aren't there. And yeah, they photoshopped these dudes because, I guess they were too lazy to get portraits of themselves in boxing gear. But that got me riled up. But even after counting punches and whatnot, 27-20, I think Nate Diaz landed way less to the body, and Jorge landed way more. But whatever, the numbers favored Jorge Masvidal, but it's not just about the numbers. It was about each round itself, and I went over that. You saw the highlights. I may have fucking misspoke and mislabeled some of the punches, but for your own sake, just take in the fact that Jorge Masvidal won the fight. And yeah, but my reaction to this was fucking, I just was shocked. I was preparing to make the video, and before the decision was being read, because I expected, Jorge Masvidal. I heard majority decision, and I expected even a split decision, but when I heard the Pride of Stockton, I was just like, man, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? The fight was good. It was better than we expected, but the wrong guy won. But yeah. Now, on to, I guess, Nate Diaz's interesting call-outs, calling out Leon Edwards and Jake Paul. It says he was going to win a UFC title. Not a chance, dude. Not a chance that's ever going to happen. He's 39. And he lost to Jorge Masvidal in a boxing match. Absurd, obscene. I don't get it. Jake Paul also, I don't get it either. But hey, if KSI beats those two schmucks later on in the year, then you can do Nate Diaz versus KSI. If you want some big money fights, if you want to go to London or something, do a fight there, or get KSI to come do it in California. Whatever that fucking, this diva wants. Get KSI to come down to California, do a fun fight, and Nate Diaz will probably win a robbery out of KSI, even though he should whoop KSI's ass because the guy can't fight. But, good for him. I can't complain for the guys, against the guy, because he made a bunch of money, and he won a robbery decision. Good for the guy. And as for Jorge Masvidal, there's one option. It's Chael P. Sonnen. You book the fight immediately, and yeah. Whatever. What else can you do? I mean, this was the plan was for Jorge Masvidal versus Chael Sonnen. Chael had the fun sparring match with Silva. Jorge got robbed. He's now 1-1 as a pro boxer, and he's gonna face the GOAT of boxing, Chael P. Sonnen, undefeated, undisputed heavyweight division champ. Good luck, Jorge, in that fight. I hope it's a pro fight also, not an exhibition. At least this fight was pro. So yeah, but it is what it is. Jorge should have won, and yeah, peace.